Welcome into the Alabama Football Report. Chris Daughtry here for today's show, doing a little self-produced action on today's show. Want to ask you guys, before we get into the show today, make sure you go over to Twitter and give me a little follow over there as well. I don't tweet my life away and do all that, but I do put all of our content that we do here on my Twitter page. Also, every now and then, I also put my thoughts and opinions out there as well. So help me out. Trying to get to 400 followers over there on Twitter. Need 54. That link will be in the comment section and the description of today's video just to help you guys out find that a little bit. But my Twitter is Chris@ChatSports. Go give me a follow. So coming up on today's video, we're going to talk some injuries. The Week 11 availability report came out last night for this Alabama versus LSU game. Pretty good news for Alabama. Only 2 players listed on there. LSU, though, has a lot of players listed on there for them. We're not going to talk about all of LSU's players listed because a lot of those guys are out for the season, but we are, mainly going to talk about guys that are, real particular to this game. But first up, for Alabama, nothing we didn't already know. We heard from Coach Kalen DeBoer this past Monday, that Cole Adams was going to be out for the remainder of the season. He has a lower leg injury. You saw possibly on Twitter, you can go on my Twitter, I retweeted it. There was a video of Cole Adams during that Missouri game after he got injured, had his foot in a cast. It was one of those kind of soft casts, but he was on crutches limping off the field. So, Cole Adams not going to be out there for Alabama for the remainder of the season. And when it comes to the wide receiver room, it's probably not that big of a deal. You got a lot of guys that are very, very talented in that wide receiver room for Alabama. And honestly, what's the thing that we keep saying all the time? We wish guys like Jeremy Bernard is probably a guy that you wish could get more touches. We want Kendrick Law to get more touches. There's so many guys out there. Maybe even Emmanuel Henderson, you want to get some more touches. He could be a guy that can really step up with Cole Adams being out. But one thing that really makes me kind of nervous about Cole Adams being out for the rest of the season is his impact on punt return. And it's not like he goes out there and, makes just, incredible plays on punt return. But he is a veteran when it comes to that. He hadn't been doing it for, a long time, but he knows when to catch punts, in the air. He knows when to fair catch them, knows when to let them go. And that's something that's very important when it comes to punt returns. In a game like this against LSU and really, in the SEC and beyond, it's field position is so important. And if you're losing 15, 20 yards on some of those punts that keep rolling, when you let them hit the ground, that can be the difference in a ball game like this. And, guys like Jaylen Mbakwe and Ryan Williams, they're going to be probably the ones out there returning punts for you. And it does make me a little bit nervous that we have freshmen out there returning punts. But you know what? It is what it is. Those 2 guys are extremely, electric playmakers. But, the decision-making sometimes is something that I kind of question. It does worry me just a little bit. So let me know at the pinned comment of today's video, who do you guys want to return punts for the Crimson Tide coming up pretty much the rest of the season now? Type 2 if you want Ryan Williams to be returning punts. Type 9 if you want Jaylen Mbakwe out there doing it. Or type O if you think somebody else should be doing it. And just for fun, tell me who you think should be returning punts for Alabama. Is it a guy like Jeremy Bernard? Asked this question the other day. Saw somebody in the comments section put Kendrick Law in there as well. Maybe you want somebody, backup safety or something like that. Somebody out there, Zay Mincey, that's another freshman, but, still an electric playmaker. Let me know at the pinned comment of today's video. Who do you guys think should be returning punts for the Crimson Tide? Keon Sabb also listed as out on the availability report. We pretty much kind of knew this going into it, but definitely did want to mention it. He's got that broken foot that he suffered. I don't know if he really suffered it during the Tennessee game or during the Missouri game, but it officially broke during the Missouri game. I think it was probably fractured going into that game. So, It's a real shame that you're going to be out with Keon Sabb for a while now. Don't know quite yet if he's going to be out for the entire season, but it's probably going to be a while. I would suspect if Alabama makes the playoffs this year, there might be a return chance then, but it's still, they might have to be a couple of games into it before you see Keon Sabb come back for Alabama. So you're going to have Bray Hubbard coming into the fold, and man, I thought he played really well against Missouri a couple of weeks ago. He was the highest graded SEC safety with in week 9 with an 89 or 85.9 coverage grade or overall grade. I think he had like a 89 coverage grade. So I mean, Bray Hubbard, man, he played really, really well, stepping in for Keon Sabb in that game, and I mean, I think he's really going to bring the juice for Alabama in the secondary. You see right here his stats during that game, a 16.7 quarterback passer rating. That is absolutely incredible. I think he's going to come in and, just really, bring some positive vibes for Alabama. Their secondary right now is playing a whole lot better than they did earlier in the season, but, I mean, you still have those times where you see some guys, running downfield just wide open because you got burnt, but the quarterback ends up missing the throw. So Zabian Brown's really got to step up. I think he's gotten away a lot with some stuff like that. Domani Jackson's kind of been lights out for you. But then also I think we need to definitely, make note of and keep an eye on and see, kind of how this plays out. You also got Zay Mincey, who has been getting some run as well at that safety spot. And I would not put it past Kane Womack to go out there and play Zay Mincey in this game at that safety spot as well. He has definitely shown, that he has confidence in Zay Mincey to put him out there on the field. He played the most snaps he's played so far this season during that Missouri game. So you had that bye week to kind of, refresh some things and go over some things as well, kind of grow and develop at that safety spot. So I would not be surprised if you also see Zay Mincey out there for Alabama at that safety position. One more guy that I want to definitely note on is Caden Jones, linebacker for Alabama. He had been on the injury report for the past couple of weeks. He had been dealing with a wrist injury. He is no longer on the injury report, so definitely some positive things there for Caden Jones. I still wouldn't expect him to play in this game, but it is nice to see that, the young guy is off the availability report and is officially healthy for Alabama. We'll go into the LSU side of things here in just a second, but want to give a shout out to our sponsor today, Game Time. Guys, look, Game Time is the only ticketing app I use, and they even have a new feature now called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks is just curation. It makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts. If you love going to stand-up comedy shows like I do, they have tickets for that, and it makes it very easy to find. They also have theater and everything else in between as well. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. They also have all-in pricing. I love this feature. You toggle this feature on, and it shows you the total up front, so there are no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and redeem promo code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Check out GameTime.co for last-minute tickets. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem promo code CHATSPORTS, that's CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. That link will be in the comment section and the description of today's video. Download Game Time today. Because what time is it? It's game time. All right, we're going to get into the LSU side of this injury report. And look, they had a lot of guys listed on their availability report, but a lot of them are out for the season. So we're really going to touch on the guys that are really important for this game. Starting off here with left guard Garrett Dellinger. He is out for this game. He had a tightrope surgery for a high ankle sprain that he suffered a couple of weeks ago. And I do not want to understate how important this guy is to LSU's offensive line. These are his career stats right here per PFF. In 4 seasons, over 2,000 snaps that he's played, he's only given up 6 sacks, 4 hits, and 24 hurries in 4 years. Only 3 penalties. I would die to have a offensive lineman play for 4 years and only have 3 penalties. You compare those numbers for an entire career to somebody like Elijah Pritchett, they almost look kind of identical. Looking to this year in particular, though, has not given up a sack all season long. Only 4 hurries all season long. So, look, LSU's offensive line, they're very, very good. Their left tackles are really good. But, replacing Dellinger is going to be Paul Mubinga, I believe is how you pronounce his name. I apologize if I absolutely butchered that. I'm absolutely terrible with the names. Sorry about that, guys. But earlier this week, Brian Kelly did talk about the fact that he was very confident in Mubinga to be able to go out there and, play very well for LSU on their offensive line because, he specifically mentioned the fact that things were more physical with him rather than mental, so he's not going to go out there and really make a lot of mental mistakes for LSU, but there might be a chance where he gets beat just because those one-on-ones, maybe an Alabama player is just better than him at the end of the day and he gets beat. That's kind of just what happens in football, right? He's only allowed 1 sack this year on 91 total snaps for this season, but it is very noteworthy, I think, that LSU's offensive line has only given up 4 sacks the entire season. So looking at Alabama's defensive line here, these guys are really going to have to step up in this game and try to, cause some pressure, cause some chaos in this game for Garrett Nussmeier. You look at a guy like Tim Smith, I think maybe he could take advantage. James Smith as well in that backup offensive lineman for LSU. So maybe even Tim Keenan as well. You never know. Kane Womack just decides, he he lines guys up in a lot of different spots. So I would definitely think that they're going to try to take advantage of that matchup. You look at the tackles, though, for LSU in this game. Will Campbell, Emory Jones Jr., both of these guys are probably going to go in the first round of the 2025 NFL draft next year. So one thing, though, that I do think we can keep an eye on for this game is the fact that they are pretty penalized. Look, Will Campbell, 7 penalties this year. Emory Jones Jr., 6 penalties this year. So maybe guys like Jamarian Latham and some of those Wolf candidates for Alabama, whoever it is out there on the field, Quandarius Robinson, Quay Russaw, whoever it is, maybe they can, cause some holding penalties or something like that, and that can hurt LSU at the end of the day. Hopefully, Alabama will be able to get some pressure on Garrett Nussmeier in this game because I do think it kind of comes down to that. And LSU's offensive line, like I said, they have been very, very good so far this season. So let me know, guys, in the comments section, who do you think will win the battle of the trenches in this game, Alabama versus LSU? Type A if you think it's Alabama, or type L if you think it's LSU. This works for both sides, Alabama's offensive line and defensive line, and LSU's offensive line and defensive line. So let me know who you guys think will win the battle of the trenches. Next up on the LSU injury report here is going to be wide receiver C.J. Daniels. He is now listed as questionable with a knee injury for this game. He tried to go a couple of weeks ago against Texas A&M, but just was not really able to go out there and get the job done in a manner where, he's able to make a difference for them. So that extra week, that bye week that LSU also got coming into this game, seems like it did, numbers in a positive way for C.J. Daniels. I would expect he's questionable right now. I would expect that to later on in the week go up to probable, most likely. But he is their number 4 wide receiver. So it is very, very notable that he is a guy that is listed right now on the availability report. We'll see what happens. Like I said, Alabama at times has struggled in pass coverage so far this year. So, Garrett Nussmeier, he's a guy that I think he's sitting at like 61 or so % completion percentage. So he will miss some guys as well. But, man, he slings it all over the field to a lot of different receivers out there. So Whether that is Mason Taylor as a tight end or Aaron Anderson or Kyron Lacey, I do think it is very notable to see that C.J. Daniels right now is listed as questionable. Two more guys listed on LSU's availability report here. West Weeks, linebacker. He's listed as questionable for this game, but I do not expect him to play at all. Brian Kelly earlier in the week said that they are only going to play him as if necessary. He's got an extra year of eligibility. They want to try to save that, possibly medical redshirt him at the end of the year. So I would not expect West Weeks. I would expect Whit Weeks to be out there at that linebacker spot. And then Chemo M, we're going to call him right now, DT for LSU. He is listed as probable, but I wouldn't expect him to play in the game either, to be honest with you. He's only played in a handful of snaps for the entire season for LSU, 18 snaps here in 2024. So I wouldn't expect him to really, make a difference in this game either. We will be live for the Alabama versus LSU game for our watch party, so make sure you guys are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report. We'll be going live 1 hour before kickoff. We'll also be doing some giveaways and some fun things as well during that stream. So do not miss out. Hit that sub button right now. It's youtube.com/@RollTideTV. Two more injuries that are very important to remember for LSU. They didn't pop up anytime recently or anything like that, but John Emery Jr., their LSU, one of their running backs, he tore his ACL last year in 2023. I think it was kind of later in November, but he tore it again earlier this season. He played in the first game of the season this year against USC, and 2 days later he ended up tearing that ACL again during practice. So, it's a real shame for John Emery Jr. In his career, he's played 38 games for LSU, and he's been very good when he's been able to get out there. But, man, 2 ACLs now, it's just a real shame, man. For his entire career, he's averaging about 5 yards per carry in those 38 games. So, look, LSU still has some dogs for running backs, but, man, it's definitely a real shame because they expected him to come into this season and play really well for him. He had 10 carries for 61 yards against USC in that week 1 loss. But, like I said, 2 days later ended up tearing that ACL once again. So, that is definitely a notable one to remember. And then you also have Harold Perkins Jr., also tore his ACL in week 4 against UCLA. You remember a couple of years ago when he was just a freshman at LSU, just absolutely wreaked havoc against Alabama. I think he was credited with like 7 quarterback pressures in that game, a sack, a TFL. So this is a very big loss for LSU, but they also still have some really stud linebackers. They've got some stud defensive end edge rushers out there as well. Definitely one to remember here that Harold Perkins Jr. is also going to be out for this game.